I don't like to focus so much on mistakes. I like to focus on what is appropriate and what will help you pick a jury, win a case, do a great summation, opening arguments, and all of that. And I think we can get into a little bit of what to wear for those specific occasions. And also, you have to remember also that let's say I know you're a trial attorney, right? So
Yeah.
a trial attorney would dress a little bit more, or can be a little bit more flamboyant than defense, because obviously they're working for insurance companies and they're usually in the gray suits, the navy suits, the very kind of bland kind of suits. So depending on what type of lawyer you are, so I would say people that can dress more extravagant, if you want to say that, would be criminal lawyers. I would say divorce lawyers. I would say trial attorneys, because they're putting on a show, especially if you're plaintiff, right? And then you have to break it down into what does your day look like. If you're picking a jury, I suggest more neutral tones. So there's this thing called the subliminal message of clothing.
Welcome to Riding Counsel with Rich Jaffe, where the open road meets expert advice. I'm Richard Jaffe, an attorney and biking enthusiast, and this is the podcast where we dive into the world of motorcycling, safety, culture, charitable giving, and riding right. So, whether you're a seasoned rider or just getting started, let's talk bikes, the road, and everything in between. Let's ride! All right. So, hello, everybody out in Riding Counsel podcast land. I am your host, Richard Jaffe. I am a personal injury lawyer. I am a podcaster, and I am a motorcycle enthusiast. And I have a guest with me today, a very special guest, and her name is Janine Giorgenti. And I'm really, really happy to have Janine on the show because I'm a biker. When I'm out there, let me tell you guys, you might like dress for the slide, not the ride. That's fine, but you guys have zero fashion sense, and hopefully Janine is going to help us, especially when we have the unfortunate assignment to maybe go to court for a speeding ticket or a traffic ticket or something like that, and some general appearances, because you guys out there, you're just a mess. So, Janine, tell me about you. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Just give us the 911, a 411, really.
Sure. Hey, Rich, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm really I'm feeling good about this episode because I'm a horrible dresser myself, but you've helped me a lot. This episode has been brought to you by Riding Counsel. Don't forget to visit us at ridingcounsel.com. With suits.
Well, you weren't a horrible dresser when you were doing suits and stuff with us.
Oh no, your suits were amazing. They were custom made. So, but tell me what you do. Tell me what you do, where you do it, how you do it.
Sure. So I am a fourth generation clothing designer. My background, I've been doing this ever since I'm literally 3 years old, when my mom taught me how to make my very first pincushion, and I was hooked. So I kind of say that I was given a thimble instead of a silver spoon when I was a kid. I grew up doing fashion shows and all different kind of things when I was a kid. I always knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. My formal education was FIT. I designed on 7th Avenue for a number of years. My very first job was an assistant to Oscar de la Renta, where I learned a lot. And I've had my own private labels on 7th Avenue. And later in life, when I decided to start a family and I realized I couldn't do all the international traveling I was doing, I had to figure out how to morph myself into a different direction. So I opened up my own company, Giorgenti Custom Clothing, and I do tailored clothing for both men and women. It's custom. And this is like really custom, where I literally take like 23 measurements and the body shape and the shoulder slope, and look at your hair color, eye color, skin tone, and work with my clients to figure out what it is they need to wear for what occasion. And I make that happen. I'll show people different various fabrics. We'll co-design together. We'll pick our linings and buttons. and whatever the needs are. Sometimes it's a wardrobe capsule for people that travel. Sometimes it's clothing to wear to court. It could be for a wedding, a special occasion. So basically, we do suits, we do sport coats, dress slacks, custom shirts, outerwear, raincoats, you name it. We do everything. So, and for every occasion and for men and women.
All right. So, I mean, you're talking about some incredible fashion, concepts here. And just to round it out, where if somebody wants to find you online, where would they find you?
Well, my name is Janine Giorgenti, and that's spelled Giorgenti. And the company actually is Giorgenti Custom Clothing.
And you have a website?
I do. It's Giorgenti.com.
All right, great. And you were talking about 7th Avenue, and we're talking about New York City. And for those who don't know out there, tell me about what 7th Avenue really is about in Manhattan.
Well, in the day, I mean, today it's a shell of itself. I was actually there in the heyday where there was a 7th Avenue, and we would have various companies that would sell to stores, and we'd have market week. We'd have buyers come in and whatnot. And I ran a design room, and then after I was the in-house design consultant for Ann Taylor and Macy's. And because of that job, I had to go to Paris, London, Milan. Actually, I had to, right? They had to force me to all the fashion capitals of the world, come back with inspiration, sit down with the buyers. And then once we decided on what the collection would be, I would be off to China, the Philippines, Korea, you name it. And I would stay there, finish the prototypes, come back, sit down with the buyers. They would decide which ones they were going to use for the store. And then I'd be back off to Europe again. So that's why I was saying that when I started a family, I obviously couldn't bring a little baby around with me. So that's when I fell into this world of custom clothing. So I could have my own company, my own shop. And I've been doing that for several years now. And I have multi-generational clients, and what I really love is having, the grandfather, the father, the son, it's like, it's really great. And as I said to you before, that when people come to me, I don't sell the suit. Well, I sell a lot more than suits, but I sell the person. So it depends on what you want. So it's not about me, it's about them. And it's my job to take that vision of what they need and design that for them.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show here at ridingcounsel.com. But because of the title of the podcast, Riding Counsel, we need to know, Janine, do you ride a motorcycle?
I do not ride a motorcycle,
All
but
right. Have you been on a motorcycle?
A little story is that when I was in FIT and I lived in the city, I had someone pick me up every morning on a motorcycle, and I would drive through all of Manhattan, and I would go to school, and I was the badass of the class.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So it must have been a lot of fun. And FIT, by the way, for people who don't know, it's Fashion Institute of Technology. I would say one of the top places in the world for fashion design and clothes.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about clothing, first impressions. Okay, because bikers, I'm talking for almost all of you because I've been out there. I've seen you. You have some great wares, some leathers and stuff like that. But as far as your rest of your wardrobe, it's not working for you. It's just not working for you. I'm telling all of you. But tell me, Janine, how important is a first impression?
I mean, your first impression is a lasting impression, right? I mean, people do judge a book by its cover. There's a reason why, perfume smells beautiful, but you just don't hand it in a vial. You put it in a beautiful, bottle, and you have a label on it and package it and everything. So everything, even, I always say that a person is their own marketing tool, and first impressions are lasting impressions. And however you want to package yourself or brand yourself, that's how the world views you. And I also believe that when people dress well, it also gives them a lot of confidence. People give them more respect. So it is extremely important to use yourself as your best branding marketing tool. And by doing that, dressing accordingly, right, would be the way to go.
So I know myself, I'm a biker and I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, and I dress for the slide, not the ride, meaning I dress in protective gear. I wear certain kinds of coats. I wear leathers. I wear
Yeah.
boots and things like that. But I'm also a lawyer. So that means I got to pick juries. I got to go to court. I got to deal on a professional basis with my clients, with witnesses, all that kind of stuff. And motorcyclists, most of us are not just motorcyclists. We have professional lives where we really have to present ourselves in a professional setting. And I'm wondering, what are the big mistakes, or some of the mistakes at least, that bikers like me, who really, I don't have any fashion sense, and that's why I come to you, but what do bikers do that are really big fashion mistakes when they go out of the biking world?
Well, I think I would like to answer your question this way. Um, I don't like to focus so much on mistakes. I like to focus on what is appropriate and what will help you pick a jury, win a case, do a great summation, opening arguments, and all of that. And I think we can get into a little bit of what to wear for those specific occasions. And also, you have to remember also that, let's say I know you're a trial attorney, right? So
Yeah.
a trial attorney would dress a little bit more, or can be a little bit more flamboyant than defense, because obviously they're working for insurance companies and they're usually in the gray suits, the navy suits, the very kind of bland kind of suits. So depending on what type of lawyer you are, so I would say people that can dress more extravagant, if you want to say that, would be criminal lawyers. I would say divorce lawyers. I would say trial attorneys, because they're putting on a show, especially if you're plaintiff, right? And then you have to break it down into, what does your day look like? If you're picking a jury, I suggest more neutral tones. So there's this thing called the subliminal message of clothing. Okay. So let's take black. Okay. We kind of preserve that color for the bench, right? Because the judge wears black. That's an authoritative color. All right. So if you're picking a jury and you're wearing black, you could be extremely intimidating. But when you're picking a jury and you wear something more of an earth tone, which is more friendly and forthcoming, you may be able to draw out your potential jurors and have them speak to you in a more honest and forthcoming way. Okay. So if I was picking a jury, I would dress in earth tones and more muted colors so that you don't come across frightening, right? Okay. And I think that's the best way for a jury selection. If you are a plaintiff attorney and you are, let's say, cross-examining a cop, so you may want to have more authority to the way that you dress. So that's when you would probably wear your darker tones, your pinstripes, your more bold, colors or suits for men and for women, right? Because you want to be a little bit more intimidating. You want to be a little bit more aggressive. You want to put that person on the defense, right? But if it's grandma on the stage and you're dressed too powerful, you come across like a bully. So you have to figure out what your day is, and this is closing arguments, then yes, you're going to put on your very best suit. That's your last ta-da, right? Opening arguments are also very important because you're making an impression. And you have to understand something, like, so when you watch TV shows or movies and it's about lawyers, let's say, it's Suits, or now it's LA Suits. There's a reason why these attorneys, the men and women, are really dressed very, very well. Because to a regular layperson, right, or to a potential juror, they want to see their lawyer to look lawyerly. And I think it's kind of like it lets people down when they don't see the show. So it's pretty much what the jurors would expect. And then of course you have your judge, and you want to give a good impression to the judge. You don't want your adversary to have the upper hand. So the way you package yourself is not like all suits or all clothing fits every situation. You really have to understand what that day is about and dress accordingly to that particular day.
All right. Well, that's a lot of information and really helpful. I didn't realize that color really plays an important role in communicating.
Well, I will test you then. So, for instance, if you think of gray pinstripe, right, with a tie and a white shirt, the subliminal message of that would be what to you?
Really stuffy and unapproachable, to be honest with you.
Exactly, Wall Streety, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. However, what's very interesting, the subliminal message of blue is a color of trustworthiness and respect.
Hmm.
So there's a reason why the military, there's a reason why police, there's a reason why those particular agencies wear blue, because blue comes across as very, very respectful. I mean, a lot of politicians wear blue, and so blue is that kind of a trustworthy kind of color.
Huh.
When you get to the earth tones, those are more friendly, open, forthcoming colors. When you wear black, that's a very authoritative color. So yes, color does really matter, and it also matters to the bench, and it also matters to the jurors.
All right. So we're talking about colors. You're talking about black very authoritatively.
Correct.
Now, as a motorcyclist,
Right.
right? Let's say I'm not a lawyer for that day. Let's say a biker gets a ticket or something and has to go to court, and they really don't know what to dress in. Should they just avoid wearing black completely, or does it really depend upon things like their eye color or hair color? What can they do as far as color goes if they don't have this menagerie, if you will, in their repertoire, in their closet?
Right. Well, I'm assuming that you're not going to court wearing leather, right? So, and I know when we talk about the slide, right, we're talking more about clothing that's more protective. But I guess if it's short distance and you're going to court, one trick that I can give you is that if you are wearing your dress pants or your suit pants, right, you want to take a Velcro strip and wrap it around the bottom of the pant, because anything flapping and flowing, as you know, is extremely dangerous. So you could wear your suit pant, you could wear your dress shirt, right, and you could have your leather jacket. But if it's a touring bike, then you have the box in the back. And one of the tricks is that if you have a sport coat or if you have a suit coat, I recommend that you put plastic over it, just like from the dry cleaners, and then you fold it in half, and then you roll it, and then you put it in that compartment. That way it won't wrinkle. So when you enter the court, you just shake out the jacket, or for women, a cardigan or a whatever it is that you're wearing over your blouse, and you just put that on, and you're dressed for court.
Wow, wow. And these are like simple things that you could do that are so easy. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't really cost money. I mean, I get some plastic somewhere, or like the saran wrap type stuff. Or it's not really saran wrap, but it's what we commonly see in dry cleaning and things. And
Yeah,
just
like I said, you just take the suit coat and or the jacket, and you put the dry cleaning bag over it, and then you fold it, and then you roll it, and the plastic is almost like a bubble wrap, right? And then you put it in that, if it's a touring, you put it in the compartment. So the saddlebags are very good places to put your dress shoes, right? So if you're wearing special shoes for biking, right? That may not be I don't know that you want to be in a pair of shoes that you would wear for court. I don't know that that would be safe, right? So you could put those in the saddlebags. So there are ways to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, let me talk to you if you can give us some ideas about what to do and maybe what not to do about accessories. Like, people accessorizing, like I have a couple of biker rings on now, like should we wear rings or watches or jewelry? Because a lot of motorcyclists really do like to wear jewelry that is very specific to motorcycling. And what do we do with that?
Well, one of the things that I could say is that if there's too much bling going on, this could be a distraction. I mean, again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're just going to work, it's your work day and you have your clients and you look cool, fine. It doesn't really matter, especially if you have the personality to carry that, right? But if you're in court and you're wearing all these accessories that are shiny or clanking on the table, it could be a distraction. So, let's say you're on a trial, right? You don't want distractions. You want people to focus on what you're saying. And obviously, as trial attorneys are very expressive with their hands, their emotions, their face, their hands. And to have things shining or hanging or dingling or clanking could be a distraction. So you have to be careful about that. So it goes back to the point that I was making before. What does your day look like? So if it's an office day, if you're just, I don't know, doing a deposition or something like that where things don't matter as much, if it's a Zoom meeting, then you can get away with wearing whatever. If it's something where you're on a trial, then you don't want distractions.
All right. So, you just brought up a really good point. So much is done on Zoom and a bunch of other media formats, just like we're talking right now. Do you dress any differently if you're on some sort of Zoom conference and you want to come across professional?
So I think that if you're doing a Zoom meeting, you should take that as a court appearance. So I would say that you should wear what you would wear, especially if you're, with your adversary and then you have your plaintiff or you're with the judge or whatever you're doing. I would still dress professionally, at least from the waist up. Okay. If you want to be in your pajamas or your underwear for this, just make sure you just don't stand up in the meeting and scare everybody. But
All right. It'll be a mystery. We could
yeah,
always leave that as a mystery.
but from the waist up, I would dress professionally.
All right. Another really somewhat of a daunting problem for many,
Mhm.
at least that I see, not only as a biker, but also as a lawyer, are people struggling with what to wear and how to wear it when they have a religious gear on that they need to wear, whether it be somebody who might wear something known as tzitzis, where for those who practice Judaism, or a yarmulke, or maybe it's a turban, or maybe something else. How do we deal with something like that?
Well, in the tri-state area, I don't think this is really a big deal. I mean, nobody is shocked, to see a yarmulke or tzitzis or hijab or whatever. So I believe as long as you're dressed, neatly, I think that people would understand and appreciate your religious beliefs and how you dress. Where I think this could be problematic is maybe outside of New York in rural areas where, again, you don't know what's in the juror's mind. You don't know what their prejudices are. So that's the one area that's a little bit, dicey. But again, if this is your belief, then you have to go with your beliefs.
Well, you're right. I think clothes don't necessarily define us when it comes to something like that, and I think we just have to be who we are in the end of the day.
Okay.
So, suits and and maybe skirts or skirt pants, things like that for women. They're part of who we are, but they're not exactly definitively who we are. So I think the religious garb can be worn in a professional manner.
Yeah, actually, I'll interject something. So I have a client who's a Sikh, and obviously he wears a turban, right? And he wears custom clothing. He dresses beautifully, and every day he matches the color of his turban to his suit.
Mm.
So, or if you're wearing hijab, right? You again can wear that scarf to match your suit or whatever it is that you're wearing. So there is a way to dress, professionally and still hold on to your religious beliefs. I would not compromise my religious beliefs or anyone's religious beliefs. And as I said, we're pretty much okay in the tri-state area because we see it all the time. It's not a big deal. It's just in the rural areas, where people are judgmental. Maybe it's problematic, but what are you going to do? I mean, you have to be who you are.
Right, right. And I know you're in the business of custom clothing, and you talked a little bit about measurements before, and also different kinds of fabrics and picking out different kinds of styles. But not only is the fabric that you pick out important, but also the fact that it fits correctly, right? I mean, if you're wearing something that is baggy or too short for you, I mean, it's just going to throw the whole thing off, won't it?
It does. Actually, that's the whole point of custom. So basically the way that we do it, because we're full custom. So there's a lot of confusion with this. So ready to wear is something you'd buy off the rack, right? And then you have this thing called made to measure. And made to measure was very interesting and very clever. So what would happen in the day is that there would be tons of, let's say, I'm going to talk for men now, right? Tons of suits on the rack, and you put it on, and a tailor would come chalk it, and you come back a week later or whatever, and you pick up your alterations. Well, it's getting harder and harder to find tailors in that skill set. So they became very clever. So what they would do is they put a suit on you that is a stock suit. They take the measurements, and they can take in the waist, they could shorten the sleeve, they can, adjust the length, only simple things like that. And then what they do is they pre-cut a suit to those measurements. So that's made to measure because it's not custom. All right. Then you do what I do, and it's more like body mapping. So mine is real custom with a canvas garment where I measure your wrist, your bicep, your overarm, your chest. I mean, everything. And I basically make the pattern to the person's body, and also take in mind what the situation is, what their coloration is, what the messaging should be. And at the end, when it's done, it should fit very, very well. So you're correct. You don't want baggy clothes. You don't want clothes that are too tight, short sleeves that are too short, because these are distractions. I mean, people notice this kind of stuff. And, Oscar Wilde said that a man can never be overeducated or overdressed. And I think that is the story of the day as well. And people forget that.
Well, I can tell from personal experience from getting some custom clothing from you, which has been fabulous. And by the way, I have stuff that I saw you. I must have seen you maybe 10 years ago for some of my very first garments, but I
Exactly.
still
Yeah.
have them, and they're wearing so nicely. But really, when I've gotten sport coats from you, I've gotten custom shirts from you, different patterns, I've gotten the suits from you. And I got to tell you, when I wear the stuff that you pick out for me and you make for me, people notice me, and they come up to me. And so many times that people say, wow, that is, I really like that shirt. It really goes well. And it really does help. It helps in subtle ways that you really wouldn't think of. So I wanted to thank you for that. And I also want to encourage anybody. Now, you don't have to be a lawyer to go to you, but anybody who is looking to make a really good first impression, or they have some sort of event that they're planning on, especially motorcyclists, because I'm telling you, as a motorcyclist, I'm a horrible dresser, and that's why I go to you, because I really need the help. But people should really consult with you. And they want to get in touch with you, how do they do it? Give us your website, give us your phone number, give us all the ways that we can get in touch with you.
Sure. So again, the name is Giorgenti, and it's actually spelled the way it sounds, Gior, Genti. So it's Giorgenti, GiorGenti.com. And if you want to reach me by phone, it's 646-957-6916. 646-957-6916. That actually is my cell phone. I give that out purposely because people text me all the time. They call me and, they have questions, and I'm always there to answer. So, when people say, what are my working hours? It's like 24/7, except I don't, if you call me after 11, that may be a little bit over the top, right?
Yeah. But I know the feeling. And is it okay for people watching on YouTube? I'm going to put all that information down here and some really nice, important links to your website. And I'm going to put your telephone number and your full name. And we'll put any other information that I can give, because you've been great for me. And I just wish a lot of people, I want people to know about you, because it's going to help you. It's going to help you. You've helped so many. So I really just want to thank you for your time coming on the show. You're a wealth of knowledge about fashion and what to wear and how to wear it. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on my show.
You are so welcome. It was a pleasure being here.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Riding Counsel with Richard Jaffe. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow riders. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and ride safe.